Donald Trump accepts the Republican presidential nomination on the final day of the party's national convention.
With 401 votes in her favor, Ursula von der Leyen has been re-elected as President of the European Commission for a second term.
Donald Trump has accepted the Republican presidential nomination on the final day of the party's national convention. Trump said he was running for all of America because there's no victory in winning for half of America. The 78-year-old former president also described how he survived an assassination attempt 5 days ago because he had God on his side. Trump will face Democrat Joe Biden in the presidential election on November the 5th.
This is the moment Yael Braun-Pivet, Macron's ally, was re-elected as President of the National Assembly with 220 votes against 207 for her communist rival André Chassaigne and National Rally candidate Sébastien Chenu, who came third with 141 votes. Braun-Pivet, part of Macron's Renaissance Party, had already taken the lead during the second round of votes, with 210 against Chassaigne, who had 207. The communist denounced a vote that has been stolen by an unholy alliance between Macron and the right. Politicians from each camp were hoping to influence the future prime ministerial nomination.
The election of Yael Braun-Pivet from Macron's centrist alliance is seen as a slap in the face, especially for the left-wing coalition, the New Popular Front, the NFP, that won the most seats in France's legislative elections. This now could mean that French President Emmanuel Macron could use this election as an excuse not to nominate a prime minister from the left, claiming that it does not represent the vote of the 577 French MPs in the National Assembly. Sofia Katzenkova reporting from Paris for Euronews.
Ursula von der Leyen has been re-elected as President of the European Commission for a second term. She received a strong support in a make or break vote in the European Parliament.
Votes in favour 401.
The German EPP candidate got a better result than the one she got the first time she was elected in 2019. A bigger majority gives her a stronger mandate than she had on the previous occasion. This was reflected in the congratulations she got from the Socialists, the Liberals and the Greens. But her victory had not been certain, as she had to negotiate with members on the right and the left, something that could be seen in the promises she made during her speech, as defense, competitiveness and housing were on the list. Despite the vote being secret, most of the European Parliament groups made clear their intentions. The centrist groups, including EPP, SD, Greens and Renew Europe, voted in favour, despite some individual dissenters. While the extremes, both the left and the far right, overwhelmingly voted against.
With the Israel-Hamas war in its 10th month and hospitals in Gaza at breaking point, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made her most emotional reference yet in her pitch this week for another 5 years as president. The war began last October when Hamas killed over 1,200 people, mostly Israelis, in southern Israel.
I want to be very clear. The bloodshed in Gaza must stop now. Too many children, women and civilians have lost their lives as a result of Israel's response to Hamas' brutal terror. The people of Gaza cannot bear anymore, and humanity cannot bear anymore.
As President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen was often criticised for her pro-Israeli stance. EU staffers in Brussels often go on walkouts to express their disappointment. And here in Strasbourg, 4 Irish MEPs from the centrist Renew Europe group decided to go against their party line this week and vote against her re-election.
I read her political guidelines, I've listened to her contributions to our group meetings, but unfortunately I haven't heard enough to make me think that there is a change of policy, particularly on Gaza. We heard nothing about the trade agreement, we heard nothing about sanctions, we heard nothing about settler violence, we've heard nothing about the International Court of Justice or the application for an arrest warrant in the International Criminal Court. So unfortunately all of these issues were skirted over. We made some efforts to get some answers, but they weren't forthcoming.
Barry Andrews has received thousands of letters from voters on this issue. They want an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister in the International Criminal Court. But the European Union remains deeply divided on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which might explain the weak response. Maeve McMahon, Euronews, Strasbourg.
Newly elected UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed 45 European leaders to a summit in England aimed at repairing relations. The meeting fired a starting gun on bolstering links between Britain and the continent, with a particular focus on supporting Ukraine, Starmer said.
We want to work with all of you to reset relationships, rediscover our common interest, and renew the bonds of trust and friendship that brighten the fabric of European life. And the task is urgent because our security is on the line. Every day Ukraine fights to protect not just the Ukrainian people, but the European people.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was a key guest at the European Political Community Summit and later wrote on social media that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could not continue while foreign leaders stood united. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban told reporters on his way out that victory for either party would not be found on the battlefield, but at the negotiation table.
A police officer has been wounded in a knife attack in the Champs-Élysées neighbourhood of Paris. Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin said on X that the assailant had been immediately neutralised. An anonymous official confirmed that the attacker is still alive. The attack comes with the French capital already on high security alert just days before the July 26 opening of the Summer Olympics.
A sweltering heatwave is devastating Europe, sending temperatures in the southern parts of the continent soaring beyond 40 degrees Celsius. In Romania, the heatwave is so extreme there have even been power cuts. Houses have been turned into saunas as an increase in energy consumption leads to interruptions in the electricity supply. Greek archaeological sites, including the Acropolis, had to be closed due to the high temperatures gripping the nation. It marked the 11th consecutive day of extreme heat in some regions of the country. In Kosovo's capital city, a fire engine with running water had to be parked on a boulevard so that people could refresh themselves. In Italy, animals at a Roman zoo were given frozen treats to help them cool off as the city sizzled in the scorching heat. Zookeepers distributed iced fruit and vegetables to the herbivores of the zoo and frozen meat or fish to tigers, seals and brown bears.
A year and a half after its liberation from Russia, residents are slowly returning to Kamyanka, a village in the Kharkiv region in Ukraine. More than 1,000 people lived in this village near Izium before it fell under occupation in 2022. The head of the village council, Yevgeny Panasenko, says that despite having no electricity, 39 families have returned after most of them fled due to the war.
Отакі дахи, значить, означає, що тут люди є, і вони сюди хочуть колись повернутися, тут є хазяїни, і вони десь недалеко. Якби у них будинки були цілі, і тут було світло, якась комунікація, то вони б сюди повернулися і жили б тут.
Alexander Hordienko and his wife, Zuza, returned to Kamyanka in February last year. It took them 1 year and a half to rebuild their house.
Ось кришу перекрили тут, а тут кришу перекрили.
Ну, в хаті поки ще нічого, будемо отоплення робити. І вікна поставили.
Panasenko says that the biggest obstacle is the minefield, which needs to be cleared by combat engineers. Once the mines under the power lines are removed, engineers can repair the infrastructure and the village will have power for the first time in 2 years. Meanwhile, in Ukraine's southeast, a local church community celebrates its first feast after the reconstruction of the St. Peter and St. Paul's Church in Zaporizhzhia. A Russian missile strike damaged the building in August last year. The parishioners are now raising funds to repair the bell tower, which was damaged by the blast.
Police in France have opened a criminal investigation following a suspected deadly arson attack in Nice. The apartment building blaze killed 7 people in the southern French city. The dead include 3 children aged 5, 7 and 10 and a 17-year-old teenager who tried to escape by jumping from a window.
C'est la piste criminelle. Assez rapidement, des éléments m'ont conduit à ouvrir une enquête en flagrance pour des faits volontaires, donc d'incendie volontaire ayant entraîné la mort.
According to firefighters, 3 people were rescued using ladders and 33 people were evacuated from the building. Authorities in the Moulin district, Nice, said everyone had been affected by the tragedy. The region's prefect said they were determined to provide help and assistance to the survivors.